great show.
Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
You know, I grew up in a small town.
Yeah, I had a song called Small Town a few years ago.
In a pink house.
Now you're just making stuff up.
My parents are named Jack and Diane.
You're a weirdo.
It's going to be a great show, but could you actually sign something for me? Just one other thing, just sign something?
Sure.
If you just, I guess if you just make it out to Scarecrow.
You cannot be serious.
Tell me what's going on.
I'm a fighter and a lover, and I'm saying what I mean, and I'm meaning what I say.
Tonight on McEnroe, musical legend John Mellencamp, Davis Cup captain Patrick McEnroe, and bull rider mighty Mike White. And now, through the magic of television, John McEnroe! Top 40 hits. His new record, where's his new record? Here it is, a 2-disc retrospective of his career entitled Words and Music, John Mellencamp's Greatest Hit. Please welcome John Mellencamp, ladies and gentlemen. It's very nice to see you on this show, I must say.
I'm happy to be here. Happy to be here.
How are things with you, by the way?
Oh, I'm squeaking by, you know. Same as always, records and tours and writing songs.
Tell me about this new record, then. Are these all the greatest hits, or is this half of the greatest hits, so we get the next half in the volume 2?
I was unaware that I had that many, you know, knock on wood, that many songs on the radio. So when the record company suggested I make it, I said, do I have enough records to do that? And they said, you've got a double CD. So the thing that I thought was funny about all that is that there's videos to accompany every one of those songs. Think about that.
Every one of the songs.
It's like, you know, 40 videos, right? Who would have ever thought you were going to make that many?
Isn't that how you met your wife?
On a video shoot, sure, yeah, yeah.
Do we have a shot of that? I think we have a shot. We got to show John's wife, Elaine. According to what I've read, she straightened you out in more ways than one. I mean, you said that yourself. Is that a fair assessment?
Well, I think, you know, I think the word housebroke was probably the best, you know, the best expression I've heard, yeah.
Housebroke meaning you were out of control and she...
Well, you know, I was a very cavalier guy in the 80s. I was in a rock band in the 70s, and so, you know, that whole lifestyle and being on the road, you know. So it's... she's a very calming effect and a voice of reason. You know about Voice of Reasons.
I have that myself. As a matter of fact, my wife, Patty Smythe, opened for you way back 20 years ago when the Scandal toured with you.
She did. She did about, I guess, about 20 shows with us, I think.
Did you kick them off? Because
they were so good?
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate that.
I thought these kids are too good. We got to get rid of them.
And you played with her, actually. You sang Pink Houses with her last year at Timothy White's memorial concert.
I think she played in Boston with us, too,
yeah.
didn't she? Yeah, we did a concert for a very good friend of mine, was the editor of Billboard magazine, and Tim unexpectedly died of a heart attack in an elevator. And it just, all of us were devastated, but he had meant so much to so many people inside the music business. If Tim was interested in your music or interested in you as a person, he would champion all kinds of things that most people wouldn't touch. And Tim was a wonderful, wonderful guy.
Well, you also, incredibly enough, had a heart attack about 10 years ago. Tell us about how that occurred. Was that just sort of hard living, catching up to you? Because you were rather young.
No, I was 42 years old, and doctors have been telling me for years, you know, your cholesterol is off the map. And I would go, well, am I all right now? And they'd go, yeah, you're fine right now, but something bad. So all I heard was, you're all right now. So I smoke, and my cholesterol was at like 345.
What should it be? What should cholesterol be?
Well, you know, the standard now is a little bit below 200. You know, and I was at 345. I have a sister that's cholesterol's at 400.
Still
To this day, yeah. So it runs in our family, right? So my heart attack was really a blessing because, you know, I was, you know, most people don't understand heart disease and they hear about it and they don't want to know about it. You know, you go to the doctor and the doctor tells you something. You don't really listen to what he has to say. You just hear little things like I heard, "You're okay now." All right, I'm gone. So what happened was that, you know, it just caught up with me with the smoking and the high cholesterol and the cussing, you know, gets you in trouble too. So.
Oh, gee, heart attack's coming.
Well, if that's the case, you know, he could go any second.
Okay, we're going to hear more in a minute with John Mellencamp. Stay with us. He's also going to play a song for us.
Thursday on CNBC. It's opening day for the Jonathan Salon. But
it's just full of surprises. An American relief.
All right, we're back here at John Mellencamp. By the way, this is an aside, I ask every musician.
Yeah. Sorry, John.
We'll save that.
Sorry, John.
Save that. Will you sign it after the show?
I forgot I had it in my mouth.
The publishing of your own songs. This is something Marty Bandiera, who owns EMI, we have a joke about. But do you own your own publishing now?
No.
You don't own any of it?
No, I own the last record full. So when you first start out and you make records, the idea, I'll tell you how I lost my publishing. You want to hear it?
Yeah, I want to hear
It's a
this.
great joke. I am 24, 25. I'm living in London in a flat with my entire band, brought over there by a manager. And the manager says to me one day, he says, "John, have you given any thought to your publishing?" I didn't know what publishing was, right? I said, "Well, not a lot, you know, not a lot." He said, "Well, I want you to meet with this attorney." So the next day I go and I meet with his attorney, and here's the exact words he said, John. He said, "You know, Billy is really worried about your publishing, and he wants to alleviate you from the responsibility of having to worry about it, and he's ready to cut you a check for $20,000. Now, at the time, I thought, you know, I'm a kid. I'm thinking, 20 grand. I don't even know what this publishing thing is, but $20,000? So I said, okay. So I sold him my publishing for $20,000. And 5 years later, I tried to buy it back for millions. And he said no.
And you still haven't gotten it back?
I do now. But, you know, all of those hits, Small Town, Pink Houses, somebody else owns that.
Is this the same guy that told you to change your name or to Johnny Cougar, I think was your first record, or same guy?
No, but they looked a lot alike. And they smelled a lot alike.
Tell me about this Vote for Change story you were just on, because you just did that the past couple weeks, so obviously you're looking for a change in the White House. Is that safe to say?
Well, I think that all Americans want the same thing. You know, we want a good place for our kids to grow up. We want a future for our children. We want to be able to speak our minds. We want to be able to live the free life that the Constitution promises. I found a few years ago, I wrote a song called "To Washington" that made reference to this administration, and man, I got all kind of problems for that little folk song, right? Now, I've been writing songs for, you know, since 1976 and written scathing songs about other politicians. Nobody said anything. Nobody said a thing. So when they started attacking me for writing a song that really I didn't write, Woody Guthrie wrote it, and I just changed a few words.
You mean they being the Bush administration?
They being that side of the fence, you know. So I thought, and then the thing happened, the Dixie Chicks, and I just thought, wait a minute. We are being scared. People are using fear to manipulate our freedoms, and when people are afraid, they're ready to sacrifice maybe some of their freedoms in return for what they feel is protection. I don't really feel that we are getting that. Here's what I think. I think we all want the same world. We want a better world. If you want a better world, it starts with you, right? But you cannot sacrifice your freedoms for something that you're afraid of. It's just not right.
That's very true. That's very true. Did I read somewhere where in some article that you wrote or I read that you were booed singing Pink Houses recently? Is that accurate?
Kind of accurate. I didn't hear it, but Elaine heard it. I was asked to do. I'm friendly with the guy that owns the Colts, right? I live in Indianapolis. I mean, I live in Bloomington. He's in Indianapolis, so we know each other.
So you're still a small town guy.
Yeah. You know, I'm a hillbilly. What do you want? When the first time I came to New York, I was 1974, and they said, "Man, you sound just like a hillbilly." And I said, "Yeah." Now you talk funny. I said, "No, you guys talk funny." But so anyway, Jimmy asked me. A guy named Jim Irsay asked me to come and play at his opening football game. So I said, "Sure, I'll go out at halftime." And me and a couple guys took our guitars and we played Pink Houses because, you know, to kind of show Indiana support for the Colts and all this stuff. So when we were playing, everything was fine, and there were like, you know, 80,000 people there. So I'd say probably 75,000 of the people were cheering, but there was this undertow of ooh that I didn't hear, but Elaine pointed out, and my guitar player said, "Were people booing?" And that's, you know, Indiana. I live in Indiana. I've never been booed in Indiana in my life, you know. So the fact that that's happening kind of frightens me a little bit. I mean, because think about it. These people have known me for 30 years. I have always put my best foot forward, or tried to put my best foot forward, to represent the Midwest in a certain fashion. Now, all of a sudden, you know, because my politics are a little left of yours, you're booing me? Now, I was upset by it.
Listen, in my book, John, 75 out of 80, that's good percentage. Are you friends, by the way, before you sing a song for us, with John Edwards? Did I see that?
I have met John Edwards numerous times, and he is a very smart, polite gentleman, and I think that you know, I got to say though, John, I really don't like politics. I mean, I have spent the last 30.
Can't blame me for that.
I have spent the last 30 years trying to stay out of politics, and it's a petty, dirty business. You know, the fight's very mean. But John Edwards is a great guy, and yeah, I like the guy.
I also read where you wrote an article where you said you were worried, and this is what I'm worried about, because I have a daughter 19 and a son 18 and 17, that they're going to bring back the draft. I mean, that's a genuine concern. Is that accurate?
If you believe what the president said.
Okay, well, automatically, I don't believe that.
So, but if you believe what the president said, there'll be no draft. So we can wipe that worry away. But if you believe that...
No new taxes.
That's right.
Remember that one?
Yeah, well, and I will unite the country. All those things are, you know, they're all political things that these guys say to get elected, you know. I get that. I get that. But, yeah, I mean, it's a genuine concern, and I'm sure that if they reinstate the draft, that the youth of America will go nuts. I have a 19-year-old daughter, and she's going to vote for the first time. And I mentioned the fact that, you know, they might reinstate the draft, and she just looked at me and she goes, "They can't do that." I said, "Oh, yeah, they can." Because when we were kids, you know, the draft was there. It was there for us.
Speak for yourself. Okay.
The draft was already gone?
I'm kidding.
You know, it might have been.
It was gone. You know, well, I was born in '59, so by the time I think it's '77, I think it may have been gone, eligible for the draft.
Yeah, well, I was eligible.
Thank the good Lord.
Yeah, well, I had a high number, so that's how I was not.
All right, when we come back, we're going to hear some music from John Mellencamp. He's going to play for us, ladies and gentlemen. Stay with us.
Excuse me, do you believe...
All from his new album, give a hand for John Mellencamp.
The simple-minded and the uninformed can be easily led astray. And those that cannot connect the dots, hey, look the other way. People believe what they want to believe when it makes no sense at all. So be careful of those killing in Jesus' name. He don't believe in killing at all. So walk tall, oh, and walk on through this world. Walk tall. Somewhere out in the distance is the death of you and me. And even though we don't think of it much, it's still out there for us to see. And if you treat your life like a ballroom fight, you die stinking of gin. And no drunkards allowed in heaven, no sinners will get in. So walk tall, oh, and walk on through this world. Walk tall. So be careful in what you believe in. There's plenty to get you confused. And in this land called paradise, you must walk in many man's shoes. Bigotry and hatred are enemies to us all. But grace, mercy, and forgiveness helps a man walk tall. So walk tall, oh, yeah, walk on through this world. Walk tall, yeah, walk tall.
Great song, great song. Now, not only am I a big fan of your music for the past 25 years, we got to talk a little bit about your art. Your art is quite good as well. You've been doing this a long time. You got your own book and everything. I mean, that's impressive.
Wow, that's something. That's something for me, ain't it?
Tell me about this picture here. This is a self-portrait here. Self with green background. I particularly like this one.
You know, I started painting actually just to keep me out of trouble. And, you know, you know, when you're in a rock band for a long time, you got a lot of people around you all the time. This was one thing that I could go into a room and for 8 or 9 hours straight, be by myself. And I did it for like 4 years straight. 7 o'clock in the morning till 7 o'clock at night. I painted every day for 4 years.
What were you doing? You weren't doing much music then, obviously.
I made one record in that time period. And it was kind of like, okay, here's my obligation, and I went back to painting.
Are you an art collector?
Yeah. Well, listen, you know, when you get into art, it opens up a whole new world of understanding, and you know, you like art. You find out about all kind of stuff. You teach yourself about art.
What have you found out about it? You know, getting into art. What are the things you found out about?
Well, for me, you know, wanting to paint. You find out about, like, German Expressionism, for an example, like a guy like Max Beckmann, who was run out of Germany because his paintings didn't represent. Now, this is what I mean about freedom. This guy was the greatest painter that Germany had, but he was forced to leave Germany because Hitler didn't think that his paintings represented what Germany was supposed to represent. They were too dark. So he was exiled from the country and went to St. Louis and became a college professor in St. Louis. Now, how would I have known all that if I hadn't started painting?
Because from what I read, you're not much of a reader. Is that true?
I've never read a book in my life, I don't think.
Seriously? You never read a book in your life?
No, and I'm not proud of that, but I'm a very slow reader. I had dyslexia when I was a kid, and the idea of sitting down and actually reading a book is like, shoot me. Because I would be, it would be like, you know, 4 months. Because I have to reread everything 3 and 4 times. Which is funny. I mean, I write songs.
Well, that's what I was going to ask. How do you write these songs? Because all that I hear, like from Bob Dylan, the book, he's got a book out, that in order to write these great songs, you sort of have to be very well read, is what I've heard.
Well, that's probably why...
You've proved that...
well, that's probably why Bob's a better songwriter than me, if he reads a lot of books.
No, seriously, I mean, well, he's maybe the greatest songwriter that ever lived.
Right,
But you're a great songwriter also. How do you come up with all these songs? I mean, in a nutshell.
I think that songwriting is, you know, is a matter of looking out your window. I try to write songs in the tradition of the American troubadour. I try to report things. I don't try to answer any questions. I just try to ask questions, like that song I just played. I think is an inspirational song for people to question about, do you like the way we're living now? Do you expect this to go on? And to hold your head up and be proud of who you are and try to live the American dream. That's what that song is about. And you don't need to read a book to write that. You just need to look out your window and try to get in touch with some emotion that you may have inside of you.
Well, do me a favor. Keep on writing these songs and keep on fighting the fight. And thanks a lot, John Mellencamp, for coming on the show. Thank you. The new CD here, Words and Music, his greatest hits. John Mellencamp, ladies and gentlemen. Yes. Stay with us.
John, I appreciate it.
See how today's Russia is fueled